The sky-filling artillery fire mercilessly tears apart the once peaceful firmament, and cold steel armor crushes the soil of the homeland. A group of warriors without a homeland, bathed in the magical light borrowed from the throne, fight a bloody battle on the hellish battlefield. They give their all for so-called peace, entirely unaware that the royal capital they desperately protect is about to treat them as pathetic, sacrificial pawns in a political game. When the olive branch of peace is soaked with deadly venom, and when the indestructible magical wall begins to crumble from its deepest interior, what exactly is the reason that keeps heroes swinging their swords? On the massive chessboard of power, every unyielding soul is composing a desolate elegy of facing death unflinchingly in this chaotic world. This is the ultimate showdown between political machinations and sacrifice, where no one can escape unscathed from this conspiracy. This is the visually stunning CG epic masterpiece, released in 2016, Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy XV. In this grand world where magic and machinery fiercely collide, we will dive into the abyss of the story and witness an ultimate choice regarding sacrifice, betrayal, and safeguarding the future. The opening of the story slowly unfolds a grand canvas full of tragic colors for us. For centuries, the sacred magic of the divine crystal has blessed the kingdom of Lucis, making it the last pure land of peace on this war-torn continent. However, the Niflheim Empire, which glorifies military might, has increasingly risen to power, relying on its indestructible magatech and overwhelming military strength, leading to a protracted war between the two nations. To fend off the Empire's offensive that looms like dark clouds over the city, King Regis of Lucis exhausted all his efforts to erect a massive magical wall, and the source of power for this wall of size is the sacred crystal itself. 12 years ago, when Prince Noctis of Lucas traveled to the kingdom of Tenebrae, seeking medical treatment, the Niflheim Empire ruthlessly launched a surprise attack against the Lucian royal family. In that all-consuming fire, the young Princess Lunafreya had her escape route cut off by General Glauca and became a prisoner of the Empire. And ever since, Tenebrae has been tightly controlled under the iron fist of the Niflheim Empire. To combat the Empire's threat, King Regis formed a powerful military unit known as the Kingsglaive. The members of this elite force are mostly refugees from outside the royal capital, and relying on the power granted by the king's magic, they fight desperately against the imperial army on the front lines. In a fierce defensive battle at the Galad Canyon, our protagonist Nix Ulrich, Libertus, Crow, and other elite members struggle to hold their ground in the bloodbath.
Release the demon!
We can't take down that demon. I'm ordering a full retreat.
When a gigantic demon is unleashed by the enemy and the entire line faces imminent collapse, Nix recklessly disobeys the military order for a full retreat just to save his comrade Libertus from the clutches of death.
Crow, we gotta move! Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
Here, there's a detail that is easily overlooked. When the battle is over, as the commanding officer coldly reprimands Nix for insubordination, he points out directly that whatever power he possesses comes from the king, and without the king, he would be nothing. This sentence is not only the core setting of the Lucian power system, but also acts as a cruel metaphor. For these foreign refugees who lick blood from the edge of a blade, their glory, power, and even their lives have never been in their own hands. Just as the war falls into a stalemate, the Niflheim Empire's Chancellor Arden Izunia audaciously arrives at the Lucian court all by himself, proposing a shocking peace treaty. The terms of the treaty are extremely harsh.
Save your grand insomnia here. Lucis must forfeit all territories to Niflheim rule. Ah, insomnia. The jewel in the crown of the Lucian kingdom. How foolish of me to forget. There is just one more trivial thing. It concerns your son. The fetching Prince Noctis of Lucis, and the fair Princess Lunafreya of Tenebrae. They are to be wed.
The essence of this armistice agreement not only means that Lucis completely abandons all its defense lines, but it also means openly inviting the Empire's massive army into humanity's last stronghold. After the armistice agreement is announced, the royal capital is immersed in a false sense of revelry, but within the Kingsglaive, violent turmoil and anger erupt. Because for refugee warriors like Nyx, Libertus, and Crow, the territories being ceded as bargaining chips are exactly the homelands they yearn for day and night. Libertus angrily questions his comrades. Are they really just going to abandon their homes and families like this? In the eyes of many squad members, once the Empire takes over, their homelands will be completely reduced to hell, and these warriors labeled as foreign immigrants will lose their utilitarian value after the war ends, once again becoming the outcasts of the gutters. Meanwhile, in Tenebrae, Princess Lunafreya's brother Regis has long been blinded by hatred. He blames his mother's death on King Regis's abandonment and willingly becomes a running dog for the Empire. Amidst the precarious situation, King Regis issues a secret order, dispatching Crow to infiltrate Tenebrae to execute a highly classified mission.
Just make sure you come back in one piece, alright?
At this time, Princess Lunafreya accompanies the Empire's diplomatic envoy, arriving early at the outskirts of the royal capital in the capacity of a bride-to-be. To control the situation, Nyx receives a new assignment to intercept and escort the princess into the citadel.
Welcome to Sovereign Jurisdiction, Ambassador. We'll take care of things from here.
When Princess Lunafreya questions King Regis about why he accepted such a humiliating treaty, the old king's eyes are filled with exhaustion. He frankly admits that he is too old and no longer has the strength to sustain the immensely draining old wall, leaving him with no choice but to compromise. He even privately begs the princess to flee this place and find Prince Noctis, but the righteous princess resolutely refuses to run away, determined to stay in the perilous royal capital to meet her fate.
It is my duty to protect the prince and see his destiny fulfilled. These 12 years have not changed that.
And what of your destiny?
My duty is my destiny, Your Majesty. I'm prepared to accept whatever may come to pass.
However, the gears of fate spin wildly toward the most cruel direction. When Nyx and Libertus wait anxiously in the corridor for their comrade's return, what they receive instead are Crow's cold remains. She was brutally assassinated during that secret mission. Libertus stares at the belongings Crow left behind, the hairpin originally intended as a gift for the princess, overcome with grief. He once believed that as long as he served the king to the death, it would bring peace to his homeland and reunion with his family. But Crow's death completely shatters his last remaining faith. Intertwined with anger and despair, Libertus is convinced that the weakness and betrayal of the Lucian royal family killed Crow. He roars at Nyx to vent his inner resentment, ultimately choosing to abandon his identity as a guardsman, dragging his injured leg to resolutely join the undercurrent of the anti-government resistance within the city. The cinematography here is full of dramatic tension. This shot actually serves as a metaphor for the total collapse of the Kingsglaive's faith, revealing the bloody cost behind the hypocritical peace. The night of the signing ceremony finally falls, and the entire royal city is superficially immersed in an atmosphere of peace and joy, with King Aldercapt of the Niflheim Empire personally arriving in Insomnia. But behind the glamorous banquet, the dark clouds of death have heavily gathered. While on duty, Nyx hands over Crow's leftover hairpin to Princess Lunafreya, informing her that this was the gift their fallen comrade had originally prepared to give her. At the critical juncture less than 3 hours before the treaty signing, the communications officer Pelna relays a spine-chilling piece of intelligence.
Nyx, is the princess with you?
No. I'm on duty at the Citadel.
Well, the Nifs just left for the ceremony. She wasn't with them.
Based on the tracking coordinates left behind by Crow before her death, a whole fleet of Imperial airships has amassed 20 miles south of the wall, and it is highly likely that the princess has already been secretly abducted onto one of the airships by the Empire. Facing this sudden, fatal turn of events, Nyx bypasses the chain of command to directly meet King Regis, requesting the deployment of the Kingsglaive for a rescue mission. The king makes a prompt decision and orders the deployment, commanding them to complete 2 tasks: rescue the princess and stop the enemy airships from approaching the royal capital.
We've got 2 jobs. Save her and stop those Nif ships from flying on Insomnia.
We go in teams. Standard infiltrate and extract. Nix, you command. We'll follow. The Glaive stands together. Captain or no? For Hearth!
Nix leads his squad and silently infiltrates the interior of the Imperial airships. Just then, the signing ceremony officially begins, with the monarchs of the two nations confronting each other across the long table. The cunning emperor of the empire borrows an ancient law regarding theft and harsh punishment to issue an extremely arrogant warning of war.
A thief who escapes his captor can no longer be held to account for his crime.
A warning to the victim.
Meanwhile, in the bottom hold of the airship, Nix finally breaks through the heavy guards and successfully finds the trapped Princess Lunafreya.
Target confirmed. She's unharmed.
However, before he even has time to celebrate, he is shocked to discover that the airships are not flying toward the royal capital. This entire thing is a complete and utter diversion to lure them away. Desperate cries come through the communication channel. Insomnia is suffering a devastating attack. And the greater conspiracy is that a large number of Kingsglaive members have already defected to the enemy because their homelands were sold out. This last bastion of humanity is spectacularly crumbling from its very core. As the Niflheim Empire's conspiracy fully erupts, the once prosperous and majestic Insomnia is instantly reduced to a living hell. The disappearance of the magical wall is not only due to the depletion of the king's power, but also because traitors have thoroughly destroyed the core defenses from the inside. At this moment, the so-called peace treaty finally reveals its blood-dripping fangs. The Empire doesn't care at all about the territorial concessions on paper. What they truly covet is that sacred crystal capable of rewriting the fate of the world. In the ruins of the royal capital, the members of the Kingsglaive, who once fought side by side, are torn apart by the disillusionment of their homelands. Nix watches helplessly as his former comrade-in-arms Lucis has actually become the leader of the traitors. These warriors, blinded by hatred, naively believe that turning their coats and joining the enemy will buy back the freedom of their homelands. When they raise their butcher knives against their own compatriots while shouting the slogan, "For hearth and home," this misplaced loyalty appears particularly ironic and tragic.
Can you make it up? Can you stand?
You gotta be kidding me.
Thinks he's piloting back to the Royal Academy?
At the same time, the most horrific scene plays out inside the signing ceremony hall. In the final moments of his life, King Regis displays the last dignity and strength of a king. He knows deeply that the most important thing right now is no longer saving his own throne, but rather safeguarding the Ring of the Luci, which carries the will and forbidden power of the Lucian royal family.
Why? Why do you refuse me?
Before his death, he solemnly places the ring into Lunafreya's hands and makes a final plea to Nix. This is not an order as a king, but the last hope entrusted by a father and a man for the future of this world.
I know your mother would wish the same as me. That you and Noctis live happily. All those years captive because I failed you, not again. Locked doors will seal your fate no longer.
King Regis.
Our hope goes with you now, Nixelrig. Godspeed.
Under the fatal heavy strike of General Glauca, King Regis falls in a pool of blood. Princess Luna and Nyx embark on a thrilling breakout amidst the sky-filling artillery fire. And at this moment, Libertus, who had originally left the squad, resolutely chooses to return after witnessing the Empire's brutality and the lies of the so-called revolution, driving a vehicle through the ruins to pick up the two of them. The imagery here is highly impactful. The massive Imperial biological weapon Demon ravages the streets. The wall statues that once protected the city stand silent under the setting sun, while a mortal hero drives mortal machinery, desperately searching for a sliver of survival amidst the magical ruins. Just as Nyx and Princess Luna are about to escape, the true culprit who has been hiding in the shadows finally takes off his mask. When Commander Drautos, whom Nyx has always deeply trusted, appears and reveals his identity as General Glauca, the suffocating sense of shattered faith reaches its peak.
Captain?
Drautos coldly mocks the foolish loyalty of these refugee warriors. He prides himself as a wise man who learns from history, yet he has long since been reduced to a slave of the Empire's ambitions. Under desperate circumstances, Nyx makes a decision that makes history tremble. To protect Luna, and to buy time for that prince he hasn't even met yet, he takes from the princess's hand the ring of the Lucis, which mortals would never dare to touch. The moment the ring is put on, Nyx's consciousness is pulled into a sacred space transcending reality. There, the souls of the past kings of Lucis are looking down upon him, this uninvited guest. Facing the arrogant judgment of the past kings, Nyx does not humbly beg for mercy. He stares directly at those ancient and cold souls, delivering a deafening question.
How long will you do nothing whilst insomnia burns?
This fearless resolve shakes the past kings. They present Nyx with the most cruel bargaining chip.
We will grant you our light, but know it will set when the sun rises, and the price for it will be your life.
Nyx does not hesitate in the slightest. He even rejects the past king's political style, haggling, simply wanting a future that belongs to those who yearn to see a future. Ultimately, the pact is sealed.
Where do I sign?
Nyx will gain the sacred power of the kings, but the moment the sun rises, his life will completely burn out and turn to ashes. This is the most climactic chapter of the entire film. Nyx, now blessed by the kings, entrusts Princess Lunafreya to Libertus.
Meet Lunafreya Nox Fleury, our prince's beloved bride-to-be. And she has the future of the world in her hands. Keep her safe. Get her out of insomnia.
He leaps toward the highest ruins of the royal capital, commanding the massive stone statues of the old wall to engage in an epic collision with the Empire's steel behemoths. The roar of every punch is a rebellion against fate, and the flash of every sword strike is a steadfast defense of hope. Nyx weaves through the raging fire, his figure appearing exceptionally solitary and brave amidst the dazzling blue magic and the rising smoke of gunpowder. He is no longer fighting for the king who abandoned him, but fighting for the faith named the future that he promised before the past kings. In the final battle, just as dawn approaches, Nyx uses up every last ounce of magic to thoroughly strike down and kill General Glauca. With the fall of Glauca, that dream of a homeland which once haunted all the refugee warriors finally reaches a tragic conclusion. This outlander, who had never found a sense of belonging in the royal capital, ultimately became the city's greatest guardian. Princess Lunafreya finally breaks out of the ruins of the city wall. She gazes into the distance in the wilderness, where, completely unaware, Prince Noctis is beginning his journey accompanied by his companions. This ring, stained with a hero's blood and a king's tears, has finally been delivered to where it belongs. Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy XV, is not just an ultimate visual feast, but also a philosophical exploration of loss and rebirth. It tells us that true heroes are not those elites sitting in high positions dictating the fate of the nation, but ordinary people like Nyx, who, even after seeing through the ugliness and betrayal of the world, and even knowing full well they are just a pawn on a grand chessboard, are still willing to sacrifice their entire lives for that faint glimmer of light that does not belong to them. What is a homeland? For Nyx, a homeland is no longer a piece of territory on a map, but that promise worth protecting with one's life, the hope that allows the next person to see the sunrise. In this grand tragedy, everyone is losing something, but precisely because of sacrifices like Nyx, the future is no longer a complete void. After watching this movie, were you also deeply moved by Nyx's phrase, "for the future"? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video.